For millions, Little House on the Prairie was just some old TV show. It felt like walking right into your own home. Each episode offered lessons on love, family, and survival, but as years rolled by, the actors' real lives took turns the fans of Walnut Grove never saw coming. A few found huge fame, others faced brutal struggles, and some of those familiar faces are gone now. Let's look back at where the cast ended up after the Prairie lights went dark. Michael Landon, born October 31st, 1936, stepped into the heart of the show at 37 as Charles Ingalls, the gritty, honest father guiding his family through raw hardship. Strong, tender, and deeply principled, Charles was the kind of TV dad Americans trusted with their own kids. He could build a house, protect his kids, and still crack open enough to let his tears show off screen. Landon was already a bonanza star, and he'd later go on to create Highway to Heaven. On this show, he wore every hat, working as a writer, director, and producer, but Landon died on July 1st, 1991, at 54, after a brutal fight with pancreatic cancer. His passing came way too early, crushing millions of viewers who grew up basking in his warmth. To this day, Charles Ingalls remains the ultimate TV dad. Landon was the beating heart of the whole show, leaving a lasting legacy of grit and family devotion. Meanwhile, Catherine MacGregor, born January 12, 1925, breathed frantic energy into the series at 49 as the infamous Harriet Olsen. The snobbish mercantile owner of Walnut Grove, she was bossy, nosy, and so dramatic she could have easily just been annoying. Instead, Catherine packed her with insecurity and brilliant comic timing, making Mrs. Oleson the villain everyone loved to hate. Long before Walnut Grove, Catherine cut her teeth on stage, working in theater for years before this breakout TV role. Her razor-sharp delivery and dramatic double takes made Harriet one of the show's most iconic characters. Catherine MacGregor passed away on November 13, 2018. At 93, her family kept the cause of death private, but she had already spent her final years far from the Hollywood glare. Harriet still cracks us up today because Catherine knew exactly how to find the humor in pure arrogance. Every single time she burst on screen, Walnut Grove got a lot louder and way more fun. Richard Bull, born June 26, 1924, brought a gentle dignity to the town at age 50 as Nels Olson, the incredibly patient husband to Harriet and father of Nellie and Willie, patient, fair, and constantly torn between family loyalty and raw common sense. Nels was the calm center of that chaotic household. When Harriet blew up with its dramatic pride, he kept the family business and the town grounded with a quiet decency. Long before Nels, Richard worked steadily on stage, film, and TV. You probably saw him in Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, The Andromeda Strain, or dozens of other classic shows that made him a familiar face. Richard Bull passed away on February 3, 2014, at 89. No specific cause of death was shared, but fans will always remember him as one of the warmest, most dependable souls in Walnut Grove. Nels still feels beloved because Richard played him with such quiet restraint and kindness. Surrounded by a family of pure chaos, Nels gave the town a gentle decency we never forgot. Kevin Hagen, born April 3, 1928, became a pillar of trust in town at 46 as Dr. Hiram Baker, the physician everyone leaned on when things got terrifying or hopeful. Calm, compassionate, and incredibly human, Doc Baker held up some of the show's heaviest moments. He didn't just treat physical sickness. He brought comfort when families hit rock bottom, facing grief or brutal choices. Outside the show, Kevin had a massive acting career, including spots on Gunsmoke, Bonanza Mash, The Twilight Zone, and countless classic westerns. His steady, grounded vibe made him the perfect fit to play leaders and caring professionals. Kevin Hagen died on July 9, 2005, at 77, following a hard battle with esophageal cancer. He lived out his final years in Oregon, still acting on stage until the end. Doc Baker remains one of the most soothing characters on television. Kevin brought that rare, genuine warmth, the kind where you believed he could walk into any room and just make everything better. Dabbs Greer, born April 2, 1917, brought a deep spiritual warmth to the Prairie at 57 as Reverend Robert Alden, the pastor holding the town together. Gentle, patient, and wise, Reverend Alden gave the town its moral heartbeat. He guided them through weddings, funerals, bitter fights, and the hard moments when logic just wasn't enough to heal the pain. Even outside his church roles, Dabbs Greer built one of the longest actor runs in television history. We are talking nearly 100 films and around 600 TV episodes, featuring classics like Gunsmoke and Perry Mason. Plus The Green Mile. Dabbs Greer passed away on April 28, 2007, At 90, he passed at Huntington Hospital in Pasadena, leaving behind a legacy of quiet strength across countless supporting roles. For fans, Reverend Alden still brings a sense of calm to Walnut Grove. Dabbs Greer made Faith feel humble, kind, and deeply human, which is why his presence still feels like home to people. Victor French, born on December 4, 1934, brought a rugged warmth to Walnut Grove at 39, playing Isaiah Edwards, the rough-edged friend who became family to the Ingalls, lauded, loyal, but deeply wounded underneath. Edwards was way more than just frontier muscle. He could make you laugh with a song, then break your heart with his quiet loneliness. Off the prairie, he built a solid career in westerns, usually playing tough guys with a mean streak, and later teamed up with Michael Landon on Highway to Heaven as both actor and director. Victor French passed away on June 15, 1989, at 54 after battling lung cancer. It happened just a few years after Highway to Heaven wrapped up production. Fans still love Meva Edwards because Victor played him with a beautiful mix of grit and tenderness. He gave the show one of its most human souls, totally rough on the outside, but pure gold underneath. Carl Swenson, born July 23, 1908, shaped Walnut Grove at 66 as Lars Hansen, the respected mill owner who served as the town elder. He was quiet, firm, and wonderfully old-fashioned. Representing the very roots of the town, he was never flashy, but he made the community feel older, stronger, and built on real sacrifice. Long before the Prairie, Carl built a massive career across radio, theater, film, and television. He did westerns, heavy dramas, and even voice acting, carrying a seasoned authority that fit Lars like a glove. Carl Swenson passed away on October 8, 1978, at 70. He died from a heart attack just as his final episodes were airing, which made his on-screen farewell feel incredibly real. Lars remains the bedrock of Walnut Grove to this day. Carl Swenson gave that role a quiet dignity, making the town feel like it had a real, breathing history. Prairie, born May 25, 1945, brought serious heart to the Prairie at 32 as Alice Garvey, the loving wife, mother, and school teacher. She also taught school kind, brave, and steady. Alice was the kind of person who made Walnut Grove feel totally safe. Her soft nature was never a weakness. It was a rock for a community constantly dealing with grief and loss. Outside of her Alice role, landed spots on shows like The Waltons, Mannix, Unsolved Mysteries, and Shannen and Kel. With a background in theater, she always gave her performances a deeply genuine feel. Prairie passed away on August 23, 2023. At 78, her son later confirmed she had been battling a brain tumor called a meningioma. Alice Garvey is still remembered because her storyline carried such intense emotional weight. Prairie brought raw tenderness, real courage, and a quiet sorrow that still lingers with fans today. Karen Grassel, born February 25, 1942, brought an unforgettable gentle power to the screen at 32 as Caroline Ingalls. The iconic Ma, soft-spoken yet emotionally rock-solid, Caroline was the true heartbeat of the Ingalls home. She was never written as loud or overly dramatic, but her steady patience and fierce love made every family struggle feel incredibly real. Outside the show, Karen was a trained theater actress who constantly returned to the stage. She even wrote a memoir, Bright Lights, Prairie Dust, offering a raw, personal look behind the scenes of the famous series. Now 84, Karen Grassel has lived a much quieter public life while remaining closely and deeply associated with the iconic role that made her famous worldwide. Her golden years are focused on writing and reflective peace rather than chasing the endless Hollywood grind. Caroline Ingalls remains one of the most comforting mothers in television history. Karen Grassel gave her a quiet grace, building a character whose love felt simple, firm, and completely unforgettable. Rachel Lindsay Greenbush, born May 25, 1970, shared the role of baby Carrie at just 3 years old. Trading off scenes with her twin sister, Sydney, tiny, wide-eyed, and quiet, little Carrie brought a sweet, innocent energy to the entire Ingalls family. She didn't get the heaviest storylines, but her presence made that family feel fuller, softer, and more real. Once they left the Prairie, Lindsay and Sydney quit acting to live a normal life, even going to public school. Sharing that role made them classic TV's most recognizable twins playing one kid. Today, Rachel Lindsay Greenbush is 56, mostly keeping out of the Hollywood spotlight. Her story isn't about a long Hollywood career. It is about her unique childhood, growing up on one of America's most beloved family shows. Carrie Ingalls lives on as a gentle piece of the show's memory. Through Lindsay and Sydney, audiences saw frontier childhood not as a performance, but as something small, curious, and quietly precious. Alison Arngrim, born January 18, 1962, became one of TV's most iconic young troublemakers at 12 years old, playing Nellie Oleson, the spoiled kid fans just loved to hate. Bratty, dramatic, and deliciously mean, Nellie brought pure chaos to Walnut Grove. She was cruel, funny, jealous, and completely ridiculous, but Allison played her so fearlessly that the character became a total icon. Beyond the curls and the tantrums, Allison carved out a career as an actress, author, comedian, and public speaker. She opened up in her book, Confessions of a Prairie, and became a fierce advocate for AIDS awareness and protecting kids. Now 64, Allison Ingram is still busy with performances, interviews, conventions, and advocacy. She took a famous villain role and turned it into a real platform for survival humor and speaking up. Nellie Oleson still works because she is just impossible to forget. Allison Ingram gave Walnut Grove its sharpest young antagonist and somehow made being hated by audiences feel like a lasting badge of honor. Dean Butler, born on May 20th, 1956, brought that quiet frontier charm to the show at 25 as Almanzo James Wilder, the guy who would marry Laura Ingalls. Kind, steady, and a bit old school, Almanzo gave Laura Estori a brand new emotional chapter. He wasn't just some love interest. He represented adulthood, real partnership, and the tough choices waiting after childhood on the prairie. After Walnut Grove, Dean kept acting in shows like The New Gidget and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Later, he transitioned into producing and directing documentaries, focusing on projects tied to Laura Ingalls Wilder's legacy. Now 70, Dean Butler is known as an actor and a storyteller behind the camera. His book, Prairie Man, let him reflect on life before and after the role that defined him. Almanzo matters because he helped the series grow up right along with Laura. Dean Butler gave him a quiet confidence, making the romance feel less like a fairy tale and more like a real partnership built over time. Matthew Labiortox, born on December 8, 1966, joined the show at 12 as Albert Quinn Ingalls, the adopted son who brought fresh emotion to the family. Sensitive, troubled, and deeply lovable, Albert carried some of the series' most gut-wrenching storylines. He could be warm and mischievous, but his struggles forced the show to look at grief, addiction, illness, and belonging. Outside the prairie, Matthew kept acting, eventually building a solid voiceover career in animation, video games, and TV, finding a whole new generation of fans with roles light years away from Albert Ingalls. Today, Matthew Labiortox is 59 and keeps a much lower profile than most former child stars. His recent work has focused on voice acting instead of chasing on-screen fame. Albert is unforgettable because he brought a raw vulnerability to a family we already loved. Matthew made him feel like a lost kid searching for a home, and that raw honesty still sticks with fans today. Charlotte Stewart, born February 27, 1941, brought sweet schoolhouse grace to Walnut Grove at 33 years old. She played Eva Beadle, the teacher who helped shape those town kids, patient, kind, and quietly firm. Miss Beadle represented the sweet warmth of a frontier classroom. She wasn't some loud authority figure, but her calm presence made school feel safe, hopeful, and full of promise. Outside of the classroom, Charlotte built a diverse career in movies and television. She became famous not just for Miss Beadle, but also for her work with director David Lynch, including Eraserhead and Twin Peaks. Now 85, Charlotte Stewart is still loved by fans of prairie drama and cult cinema alike. Her memoir gave a personal look at her wild journey through Hollywood. Eva Beadle's legacy is quiet but lasting. Charlotte Stewart made her feel like the teacher everyone wished they had. Patient, decent, and remembered with genuine affection. Patrick Labiortox, born July 22nd, 1965, joined the show at 10 as Andrew Andy Garvey, the young son of Jonathan and Alice Garvey. Curious, loyal, and full of boyhood energy, Andy brought a fresh kid's perspective to Walnut Grove. His friendships, fears, and family moments made him a real part of the town's emotional fabric. After playing Andy, Patrick kept acting and eventually landed his famous role as Bud Roberts on Jag. He also popped up in the spin-off Nonsense and built a really steady television career, doing film and voice work too. At 60, Patrick Labiortox keeps a lower profile than in his TV days. These days, he focuses on writing, producing, and making occasional appearances for classic TV fans. Andy Garvey stays memorable because he was central to one of the show's most heartbreaking family storylines. Patrick brought warmth and innocence, making Walnut Grove feel younger, busier, and much more alive. Melissa Sue Anderson, born on September 26, 1962, made TV history at 11 as Mary Ingalls, Laura's sister, and one of the show's most emotional characters. Graceful, serious, and quietly strong, Mary carried some of the show's absolute most heartbreaking moments. Her blindness storyline challenged young viewers to understand fear, deep courage, and life-altering change. Outside of Walnut Grove, Melissa Sue Anderson kept busy with TV movies, suspense thrillers, and key guest spots. She later penned the book The Way I See It, reflecting on her Prairie years and the life that followed. Today, Melissa is 63, living a much quieter life than her child star years. She became a Canadian citizen in 2007, rarely appearing on screen anymore. Mary Ingalls still connects with fans because her story brought real pain into a world built on hope. Melissa gave her character dignity, restraint, and an emotional honesty that viewers still talk about. Ketty Lester, born August 16, 1934, brought grace and soulful strength to Walnut Grove at 43, playing Hester Sue Terhune, the blind school's beloved teacher. Warm and dignified, she was quietly powerful, adding a deeper level of care and wisdom to the show. Always comforting the kids, she carried the strength of a woman who survived real hardship long before she turned to acting. Ketty was already making waves as a professional singer. Her 1961 hit Love Letters went top 5 in America and the UK. She then appeared on film and TV before joining our favorite show at 91. Ketty is still celebrated as both a singer and actress. In 2022, she entered the Arkansas Black Hall of Fame, and in 2024, she made it to the show as 50th anniversary union. Hester Sue stays special because Ketty brought quiet authority and grace to the role. She brought music, dignity, and compassion to a world built on family and faith. Linwood Boomer, born October 9, 1955, joined the cast at 23 as Adam Kendall, the kind teacher who married Mary Ingalls. Thoughtful, patient, and incredibly supportive, Adam brought a mature layer to Maria's story. Their relationship was built on trust, shared hardship, and the belief that love could survive anything. When his acting days ended, Linwood found his true calling behind the camera, transitioning into a writer and producer. He famously created Malcolm in the Middle, winning a Primetime Emmy. Now 70, he is known much more as a TV creator than as an actor. His career behind the scenes turned that quiet Prairie role into just the start of his massive impact on American comedy. Adam Kendall brought hope to Mary's journey without making it look simple. Linwood Boomer brought a calm sincerity that helped one of the show's hardest storylines feel incredibly tender and human. Bonnie Bartlett, born June 20th, 1929, brought warmth to the show at 49 as Grace Snyder Edwards, the woman who married the rugged Isaiah Edwards. Gentle, steady, and quietly affectionate, Grace softened Mr. Edwards' rougher edges. She gave his story a real sense of home, showing that even the most wounded characters could find love, family, and peace. Later, Bonnie built a massive TV career, winning hearts on St. Elsewhere too. She and her husband, William Daniels, won Emmys on the very same night in 1986, a legendary milestone for any married couple. Today, Bonnie Bartlett is 97 and retired. In 2026, she and William Daniels celebrated their 75th anniversary, a remarkable milestone that captured the hearts of fans everywhere. Grace Snyder Edwards was never the loudest voice in town, but Bonnie made her feel incredibly real and comforting. Her character brought a quiet tenderness to one of Walnut Grove's most rugged love stories. Melissa Gilbert, born on May 8, 1964, became the face of the show at just 10 years old as Laura Ingalls, the fiery girl everyone knew as half-pint. Curious, stubborn, and fiercely brave, Laura carried the whole story through a child's eyes. She made the Prairie feel alive with wonder, mistakes, and the brutal lessons of growing up. Far from Walnut Grove, Melissa kept acting, wrote memoirs, and ran the Screen Actors Guild as president. She even launched a lifestyle brand called Modern Prairie, proving her career went way beyond her childhood fame. Today, Melissa Gilbert is 62 and stays deeply connected to the legacy of Laura Ingalls. In 2026, she visited Netflix's new set, sharing a warm moment with the young actress playing Laura. The character endures because Melissa chose raw honesty over perfection. She was messy, loving, fierce, and completely vulnerable. The kind of character who made entire generations feel like they grew up right beside her. Melissa Francis, born December 12, 1972, joined the show at 8 years old as Cassandra Cooper Ingalls, the orphaned girl adopted by the family. Fragile, scared, and desperate for a home, Cassandra brought a softer kind of heartbreak to the screen. Her story proved that family on the frontier was not just about blood, but about rescue and second chances. Once she left child acting behind, Melissa chose a radically different path. She graduated from Harvard and built a new life as a television journalist, financial commentator, and news anchor, stepping far outside the world of scripted TV drama. Now 53, Melissa Francis has lived a public life shaped by hard news rather than childhood acting. Her shift from child star to primetime news anchor is easily one of the cast's most surprising transformations. Cassandra stays memorable because she arrived with pure sadness, innocence, and hope. Melissa Francis gave the role a vulnerable quality, making the Ingalls home feel open to kids with nowhere else to go. Kyle Richards, born January 11th, 1969, joined the show at 6 years old as Alicia Sanderson Edwards, the sweet, quiet girl adopted into the Edwards family. She gave her adoptive father's rugged story a much softer side. Her presence proved that beneath his booming voice and rough frontier exterior, he desperately wanted to protect and love a family. After Walnut Grove, Kyle kept acting, landing roles in horror films, television, and eventually reality television. Modern audiences know her best from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, where she traded childhood fame for a totally different spotlight. Today, Kyle Richards is 57 and stays busy with television, business, and public life. Unlike most former child stars, she stayed in the spotlight for decades, transitioning from scripted drama to reality TV fame. Alicia might be a minor character on the Prairie, but Kyle's massive reality career makes the role a fascinating trivia point. Fans who watch her on reality TV are often shocked to learn her career started in such a gentle, simple world. Pamela Roylance, born March 27, 1952, joined the final chapter of the show at 30 as Sarah Reed Carter, the mother who moved into the Ingalls home after they left. Gentle, practical, and incredibly strong, Sarah helped anchor those final seasons with a new family center. She was never going to replace Caroline Ingalls for the fans, but she brought real warmth and stability to a changing Walnut Grove. Throughout her career, Pamela worked steadily across television, landing roles in countless dramas and family shows. You might remember her from classic series like The Love Boat or Hotel, along with later projects that kept her connected to retro TV fans. Now 74, she still gets love from viewers who remember the Carter years. In recent years, she has talked about the strange road that led her to the show and the massive pressure of joining a beloved series near its end. Sarah Carter remains tied to that final transition. Pamela brought a genuine sincerity and calm, making the final season feel less like a hard ending and more like a new family finding their way. Jason Bateman, born January 14, 1969, joined the Prairie at 12 years old as James Cooper Ingalls, the orphaned boy adopted by Charles and Caroline. Quiet, deeply wounded, and just looking for a home, James brought a heavy dose of real-world sadness to those final seasons. That story showed the Ingalls family opening their doors again, not because life was easy, but because compassion was just who they were. After his years as a kid actor, Jason became one of those rare child stars who built an even bigger adult career. He found massive, lasting success with Arrested Development, Horrible Bosses, Ozark, and other huge film and streaming projects. Now 57, Jason Bateman is still incredibly active as an actor, director, and producer. Today, his career is defined less by child star nostalgia and more by sharp comedy, dark drama, and total behind-the-camera control. James Cooper Ingalls was just one early chapter in his story. Jason Bateman's rise from a Prairie child actor to an award-winning superstar is one of the most impressive transformations in the cast. Shannen Doherty, born on April 12, 1971, joined the Prairie's final era at 11 years old as Jenny Wilder, Almanzo Wilder's young niece. Fragile and overwhelmed by loss, Jenny brought a much more painful child's perspective to those final episodes. Through her, the series deeply explored grief, healing, and finding family after a tragedy. Beyond Walnut Grove, she starred in Charmed and Beverly Hills 90210. She also starred in Heathers, building a powerful pop culture identity known for her outspoken voice and incredible resilience. Shannen Doherty passed away on July 13, 2024 at 53. After a long, brave battle with metastatic breast cancer. Tributes poured in from fans who followed her from childhood roles to 1990s television fame. Jenny Wilder remains a deeply touching piece of her earliest acting legacy. Shannen brought true vulnerability to that role, but her real legacy was a career that made her one of TV's most recognizable icons. The Little House cast left Walnut Grove behind, but their warmth and life lessons and unforgettable performances still live on with fans around the world. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, subscribe, and check out our next Then and Now video.